At least two exciting reasons to join us here for the Golf 8 review with Thomas and Autogefühl. This is the Golf 8 R-Line, so already with sporty accentuations. What are they? We'll find out. And now, infotainment system update for the Golf. Finally, they had a lot of problems so far. Is it now better? Does the Golf strike back? Let's go. In the front we can see the light strip that combines left and right side. Really beautiful R-Line badge and also black accentuations in the lower part than here. So a really sporty look then, although this is not the highest engine spec. LED lamps are standard. Optional you can pick these here, IQ light. And then you also have turning cascading indicators both in the front and also in the rear. That looks pretty fancy. And fancy color as well, lime yellow. I found the Kurkuma yellow a little bit more beautiful, which I had in the previous generation. This one here definitely more screaming out. What's your take on this one? Length at 4 meters 28 or 169 inches, and the R-Line automatically comes with the 17-inch wheels. Option you can get 18-inch wheels. Here we do have 17-inch and they look a little bit more balloonish because this vehicle is still on winter tires actually. Other than that, typical for the Golf is always that very strong C-pillar right here, and here in the R-Line also black accentuations, mirror caps, and also this sportier spoiler in the lower part. Oh, and we also have tinted windows for the rear. In the rear, a modern light signature with this kind of 3-dot design, and the R-Line here features the black accentuation in the lower part, but Autogefühl fake exhaust alert, a clear case for that. Wow, that is really weird, isn't it? By the way, suspension-wise, with the R-Line you get a fixed sport suspension, but if you opt for the DCC, the adaptive suspension, then you kind of have the same setup as a normal Golf with DCC. However, the DCC offers a sport mode, then again you can finely tune it. Car key looks like this, high gloss black. Yeah, I found the older one better than I have to say in the previous generation. Door closing sound, as we know from the Golf, top notch. Inside of the doors is soft touch here in the top part, and then in the R-Line we also have here this beautiful grey microfiber as insert. That is lifting it up definitely. Steering wheel looks fancy here, R-Line design. However, hashtag capacitive BS left and right, so a base Golf steering wheel would still come with normal buttons. Highlight of the R-Line are the sport seats that you also get in the GTI or the Golf R. Integrated head restraint here with grey microfiber, that looks amazing. And then fabric inserts, so also breathable, and outside leather red for some design highlights with contrast stitches, also animal free. And the cool thing is that these seats here are indeed also very comfortable. They give you shoulder support, keep you tight, at the same time increase comfort. To me also, especially for tall people, 1,86 m, 6'1", and then you also have enough headroom left. You can also get a panoramic roof if you like. Steering wheel control, manual, up and down, in and out, but you see here it is widely adjustable. Interior overview with a clean setup, horizontal stress, nice sporty cover then here, also soft touch at the top dashboard. Steering wheel has a good compact size, sporty form with perforations at the side actually. This one here, manual gearbox for today. With the DSG you would also have a more cleaned up middle console because it has this very short shifting lever. And about the screen setup, on the left side you always get 10.25-inch digital screens. On the right side you would start 8.25-inch, a little bit smaller, with knobs still, with base Golf versions. Also stand for the R-Line in Germany, R-Line in UK, or also here optional is that 10.25-inch screen, also with here the swiping function, 10.25-inch screen here without any knob still. And the question is now, have they significantly updated it? Really? Well, you've seen it here, and this is even updated, I feel. The swiping gestures work better than before, but I mean, I kind of never used this feature basically. But the thing is, yes, what a relief. Finally, look at that. But just when I browse around in the menu, this is so much faster than before, because they have not only done a software update but also a hardware upgrade from the Qualcomm S820A to the Qualcomm S820 Premium chip. So there is a different chipset in there now. So you see, it is way more responsive than before, and so far I also had no error or something. This is the climate unit, by the way, and you can also adjust the temperature here. Other than that, if that is not active, you have to get these sliders here, and they are not backlit. This is still a big flaw, and also here the volume slider, not my favorite at all. But definitely, when you just browse around in the menu, you can see how the speed has been picked up massively. And we also do not have some errors when we control it. Sometimes things were failing, things were get stuck and so on. So hats off, finally a reasonable good update for that. Not necessarily is my favorite infotainment system of all time, but now at least it works and is kinda reliable. Here, by the way, you can set the DCC individual left to right if you are in the individual mode. Other than that, if you pick the preset modes, then all the difference parameter, they switch, and there you can see indeed this vehicle also does have the DCC. This is one of the options that is in this one. You can, by the way, also go to the climate menu right here when you click this lower area. And then they also have the seat heating control right there. For example, heated steering wheel button is at the steering wheel itself, by the way. So yeah, I'm so relieved to see this here right now. Apple CarPlay integration looks like this and is also faster than before. And this is equipped here with the optional Harman Kardon sound system for a compact vehicle. This is really decent. Wow, this is a very nice, really crystal clear sound. So like that. Head-up display is a nice option, speed, allowed speed, and also some GPS guidance. And the digital instruments, they switch color depending on the driving modes. This is comfort, this is sport, and this is individual actually. And then you can also change what you want to see on the left and the right side and so on. You can pick these different things, and also what you want to have in the middle actually. So view would be changing everything, for example, also to a full screen map. 2 USB-C chargers in the front, by the way, and also enough space for big smartphones, and there's the inductive charging pad underneath. Cup holders can be drawn in like this and then fold out like that. Here's a second one for bigger things, 12-volt power supply, and then the armrest with a nice leatherette cover, soft plush, and some space underneath. Rear seating is also very fancy, more a single seat design than here, also once again with a gray microfiber, so that all looks really like from one interior design. Really cool. But it's not a long vehicle, and with these thick sports seats, secure, you see I hardly fit in here in the rear legroom wise. Remember, this is the short wheelbase of that very platform. Leon and Octavia, for example, the internal competitors have a longer wheelbase. A3 and Golf share the short wheelbase. So this gets quite close. It does still house 4 tall adults, but of course with some limitations. The seats here in the rear are actually then decently comfortable. Headroom is also actually no problem. The head restraints, you lift them up, they're easy like this. Yeah, maybe I could still move forward a little bit with the seat. It has some nice backs in the rear part. But yeah, you have to know where the limitations are. By the way, you do have the nice microfiber also at the inside of the rear doors. However, yeah, indeed, hard pack at the rear doors on the top. Opening the hatch with the flipping logo, that's cool. And here also, what a great closing sound of the trunk actually. Trunk area, somewhat limited length of 75 centimeters or 29 inches. But then here the width is a good meter or 40 inches. And the actual total height, so without that cover here, the total height about also 75 centimeters or 29 inches. Here the cabin trolley also fits in vertically, and you can also fold these seats here 1/3, 2/3 split, or also with the ski hatch, and the total length to the front seats here at this moment, then a little bit less than 150 meters or 58 inches. Yeah, I know this new generation does not have the gas struts anymore. Was that mat here, that detonating mat before? I don't know. Here now, the 1.5 liter turbo petrol engine, the 1.5 TSI with 130 or 150 horsepower, manual gearbox, we're driving that one today, or automatic gearbox with a DSG dual clutch transmission. And then it is also mild hybrid. You can also get a 190 horsepower 2 liter TSI for that one, or the 2 liter TDI. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge here with the Golf 8 R-Line in the 1.5 turbo petrol engine trim. We go here to the sports mode, and I have the manual gearbox here today. So I start in second gear at about 40 kilometers an hour and speed it through sports mode. Let's go. Come on. Of course, not the performance engine or something. 180. Yeah, there's not much more coming, but we're getting closer to 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Oh, and now a little bit windy today, but still we have good control. Wow, lane change here. Woo! Well, these are the winter tires. Yeah, you feel that. Suspension here in the DCC in the sports mode is a little bit stiffer, but yeah, with these 17-inch winter tires, let's say you don't have the sportiest feeling. You see here that the car was swimming up somewhat. So with summer tires, this will be definitely better than. Here in the sports mode, the suspension is still decent. So when there's some bumps in the road, no problem at all. And that's again what I said earlier. If you pick the R-Line with the DCC, dynamic chassis control, then you have kind of like the normal suspension setup. So it's not as sporty DCC like we have with the GTI, GTD, GTE and the Golf R. If you wanted really sporty suspension in the R-Line, then you have to stick with the base suspension, which is a sport suspension actually. Then it's also sportier than a normal Golf suspension. But here DCC is actually very decent, and it definitely improves the comfort, because even in the sports mode it's more comfortable. And you always have this, this span where it moves, so it is adaptive in every single mode. Here's some ambient lighting also, we can see in the tunnel, and here the red gauges, you can see when I switch through the modes. Comfort mode, a little bit softer suspension. Blue mode, eco mode is a little bit darker blue, you see the difference here? Well, the comfort mode has a little greenish note to it actually. And then the sports mode, once again, here with these red gauges, very interesting. And with the manual gearbox, these driving modes don't have a big effect. So that is more like when you have the DSG, the dual clutch transmission, then they change the shifting characteristics and so on. Here in the manual, it's more about how much you tune this RPM yourself. Of course, what has had a little bit effect of the steering. In the sports mode, you have a little bit more feedback. And in the comfort mode, for example, the steering wheel is loose, has less feedback. So I would prefer the feedback from the sports mode. However, you can also individualize that. For example, in here, of course, not to be recommended while driving. Then you can set the DCC yourself and the steering, for example, to sport, whereas maybe everything else you leave in the comfort mode. So you can then just drive with a sportier steering feeling. That's what I would actually do. So for example, here steering on sport, drive, whatever, it doesn't change that much. ACC, maybe all slide assistance, everything else fine like this. And then the DCC maybe like, here on the comfort setting. This is also new with the Golf 8 generation, that you can fine-tune the DCC yourself. You don't only have presets, but really can fine-tune everything. And in that way, I would maybe stick with the individual mode. And you can see the individual mode has this yellow background then in the gauges, which is in this case fitting to the exterior color. Not exactly quite the color, but still the overall color combination is actually quite decent. About that manual drive here, I know that especially, if you're from the US, you really like to see episodes of Autography where we have manual shifting, because it's really rare, especially in the US. The manuals are dying out indeed. Electric vehicles are automatic 1 gear anyway, or 2 gear if it's Porsche Taycan or Audi e-tron GT. Also, the normal combustion engines, they are moving towards automatic transmissions. Manufacturers don't want to offer so much variety anymore. Then people also seek more comfort in driving. And also these, the hybridized drivetrains. Here also, a good example for that. If you have the DSG, then you also have mild hybrid technology. If you have the manual, you do not have the mild hybrid technology. So bit by bit, the manuals are dying out. So we're also happy still to be able to show you that. And it's actually a decent one. So here, second gear, also when I put it to third, for example, you have some nice feedback and like kind of like you have clicking in sound, plop. So you do have some resistance. The best manual gearboxes, I think, Mazda does them. They just feel awesome. But here, actually decent, and also the shifting lever is good to handle. So overall, I'm quite happy with that. As for assistance systems, yes, capacitive buttons here on the steering wheel, you get used to them a little bit. Still, if you have a Golf with the normal buttons, that would be better. In the R-Line, however, and also GTI, GTE, GTD, Golf R, you always have this, their backlight, backlit. This looks cool now, once again, in the tunnel. But I would still prefer the normal buttons to have them. And also, here you can like press for 1 and 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer steps up and down, and press a little bit harder. Then it's a 10 kilometer step. And that's so hard to really control while driving. Sometimes you just miss it. Here you can see it looks cool that they're backlit, these buttons here. Unlike the one on the infotainment system. Temperature control is not backlit. I am very sure they will update this with the first facelift in mid-cycle for the Golf 8. I've heard some rumors, but at least we do have the infotainment system upgrade here now already shown you in the interior part. Now, third gear, 80 kilometers an hour. 120. And 150, and that's enough for now. So what about the noise insulation? It's actually quite decent. Here at 150 kilometers an hour, let's put it to a normal motorway speed, which is like 130 kilometers an hour or 80 miles an hour. And just actually decent noise insulation, so you have a good and comfortable feeling. And then also this car is a little bit more stable. But yeah, once again, 17-inch winter tires, you do get some wobbling feeling. It will be way different with summer tires then. So it is still a good motorway vehicle. A car you can do everything with, basically. You also have these great sport seats here in the R-Line. I love them. They look awesome. They are animal-free. They have the premium microfiber. And they're also very comfortable. So this is a sport seat that actually increases sportiness and comfort. They hold you tight. You don't fly around in the corners. But still, you have a lot of comfort even on longer journeys. And that kind of like moves this car seating and comfort position wise a little bit more upward. So really like this setup here. So I can understand if you go for the R-Line and save the money maybe in comparison to a GTI or something. So this won't be, the Golf is not a cheap vehicle, not at all. But still with the R-Line you get some sporty features, all the visual stuff without spending much more money on the biggest engine. And here, this 1.5 liter engine is actually enough. This one with the higher trim, with the 150 horsepower trim. Remember, there's also a 130 horsepower trim available for this one. That won't make the biggest difference though. What is interesting is that fuel economy wise, here with the manual, which is not the MHEV, not the mild hybrid, we land up about 5 to 6 liters on 100 kilometers, which is some 40 mpg plus in the US and 50 mpg plus in the UK. It's okay for a car of that size. However, with the 1.5 and the MF system, with the dual clutch transmission, we could score even better figures. Some 5 liters or maybe a little bit less, or rather some, 50 mpg US, 60 mpg UK. Obviously depends on the driving profile and how exactly you do drive. But in this case, the mild hybrid technology really makes, has some sense, because you're going downhill, can gain back some of the energy and so on and so on. But overall, once again, driving feeling wise, hardware wise, the Golf does it very, very well. Yeah, just not really content with these 17-inch wheels, winter tires. To me, I'm not like this super stiff sporty rider, but I like to drive sporty without compromise on comfort. That's my thing, when I buy a car personally, I want a fun driving experience, which is somewhat sporty, but only if there's no compromise on comfort. So I deny sports vehicles which are then just uncomfortable to drive and give you back pain. That doesn't make sense to me. And the Golf actually does it very well, that it does deliver you some sporty driving feeling while giving you comfort. That works. But once again, yeah, I would like to do this one once again with summer tires, and then it will be definitely better as for the sportiness factor. As for comfort factor, of course, that's then absolutely fine. Well, but this was more like when we have some high-speed things, you know. So what about then when we are in some more winding corners? This will be interesting. But before that, let's see. Let me set here the cruise control, and we also have the travel assist available. And when I set this one here actually with the, whoa, interesting. So when I have the travel assist available, there we go. And there's also, let's see, so some assist systems do recognize this road here also as suitable for that. Yeah, here we go. So now the car is basically taking over. And you see here, car is being kept in the center of the lane. Let's see when we go, yeah, we have to go left now. So the, the interventions by the system are actually quite, subtle. I also tested on the motorway earlier, and that was actually also a good result. The only thing is really to activate or deactivate it. You sometimes think, what was it again? Okay, like, is it on now? I don't know. Then, okay, activate or deactivate it on the top part here, and then decide if it's also the travel assist with full lane keeping, or just the cruise control on the lower part, and then set it here, but then that is like too hard a press and you're too far. So overall, this hashtag capacitive BS on the steering wheel, yeah, it looks fancy, but it is so much harder to control. So that is still a user interface problem, definitely. You also from time to time activate things you don't want to activate. I mean, on the road, not necessarily, but I did, for example, when I was driving Golf last time on the racetrack, holding onto the steering wheel, and then I was activating or deactivating the steering wheel heating all the time here, because you just, come to this field something. Again, it doesn't happen too often when you are in a city or something, but it is something you can actually take in mind. Head-up display is good to read, very crisp and clear, also a helpful feature while driving. And talking about the driving, yeah, there's one thing missing, definitely more agile driving in winding corners. Let's see about that. And here we go, one more time to the sports mode, and have a little bit more steering feedback, and let's see these winding corners, also rough road, but the DCC is doing a good job in keeping this comfortable at the same time. Let's see here, progressive steering, that is also included in the R-Line. Front wheel drive now becomes obvious, because when we have some traction losses, of course, we have some understeer. Let's see here. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't have so much power that it would play a major role for that, actually. Yeah, the chassis is really good, and also the balance between front axle and rear axle, that is something that the Golf has always been doing well. And so the result of that is that although you have, let's say, a standard vehicle and not a special sports vehicle, you still already have good driving fun. So that's about it, driving it. What about the other Golf versions? For example, the Golf R, if you really want that true R, or the Golf GTI, tune in there.